course, 7-map pool. Talon going for the ban first on Consulate, and we'll end up with our decider and Cafe Dostoyevsky between the two. So again, best of one series with overtime. That's the difference between APAC and EU if you've been watching us casting through these two. And of course, NA is running through their best of three system. So Cafe Dostoyevsky, we don't see much about Talon. Do you guys immediately give the advantage to C9 in this?
Well, it was actually the most recent match that these guys played against each other was the most recent match that either of these teams played, which was literally Cloud9 versus Talon on Cafe Dostoyevsky in the Korean Open Championship Grand Final on map number 3 in a best of 5. And C9 took the series 3-0. It was a 7-5 to C9. So on paper, I want to say C9, yes, they're maybe not in best form, but they've got the overall experience, and they literally have the head-to-head victory on this map from only a few weeks ago in March. So I am going to go with Cloud9. That said, a 7-5 is a close scoreline, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see Talon get into this.
Yeah, close scoreline is a really good thing to point out, James, because a lot of people think to themselves, oh, well, such and such won this map, so therefore they're better. Nuh-uh, that's not how it goes in Siege, ladies and gentlemen. Even when you see a 7-3, 7-2, for example, but all the rounds are very close and it could have gone either way. That's why I tell people you can't just look at the round differential. You've got to go look at those matches and you've got to see, well, how close were they really to winning those rounds? So Talon could come out and say, well, we've worked on those mistakes that led us to a 7-5. We're going to come in blazing here and show you how that 7-5 really isn't indicative of the kind of team that we are.
So let's take a look at what people thought about this watching from home. We'll remind everybody that you can vote on every single one of our matches. You just have to go to the respective Twitter polls. So, of course, for APAC North, if you want to vote on these matches and have your vote cast into it, you got to go to Rainbow Six Esports APAC, and you'll get the info on it. So we'll go up and see. So far, people have been relatively right, but man, that's a 91% to 9. And honestly, this is what we were talking about. Everybody's going to look at it and say Cloud9. Yeah, of course I'm going to go with Cloud9, right? We want all of these teams to kind of show off what they've got, and this is Talon's real big showing on in an actual major game that everybody's going to be looking into. It's a change of scenery for many viewers that are out there that are not used to watching APAC at all due to time zone or whatever. We're aiming to change that, and it seems like Talon, due to that close scoreline that you were just talking about, James, that they actually have what it takes to punch up to C9.
Yeah, I mean, the story for Talon here is that they're not actually a Pro League team. Like, they didn't play in the Korean Pro League. Korean Pro League was quite a bit of a different scenario to the other sub-regions of APAC. Korean was historically significantly weaker, and C9 was the only team that they were literally just like 7-1, 7-2 all their games. Like we said, that started to slip, but Talon, like, they didn't even play in the previous season of the Pro League. But I mentioned they played in the Korean Open Championship, where they got to the grand final. Like, it was pretty good. Like, they took down Scars 2-0. They took down a team called Safe House as well in a best of 1 pretty comfortably, but none of those victories were on Cafe, and the match that they did play against Cafe in that one was against Cloud9, the loss.
All right, thank you two for your info. It's time for us to head into game, though. All the players are ready and willing for a matchup, so let's go. It's Talon versus C9.
And it's Hap and GL to bring you that action right here. To you, I can only imagine that you're really excited to finally get to cast basically what has been your passion since ever you started really getting involved with Siege.
Yeah, you know, I love the fact that I represent EU. I love EU, but the Korean scene has always been the little passion project of mine that I've loved to follow. And C9 versus Talon, as the analyst said, have such a great story behind them. Talon, they've been this team that came out of nowhere. They've built themselves up and developed themselves, but C9 have always been that hurdle that they failed to get over. As James said, C9 beat them in the Korea Open Championships bracket, and even when you go back to the Korea Open, it was Cloud9 that gave them a bit of a run for their money. So this is very, very interesting to see. First of all, we're going to start seeing our operator bans come out. Talon Esports starting off with the Thatcher.
It was a really determined ban right there, not really having to think about that long, just instant locking in that Thatcher as Cloud9 now will decide to get the Nomad out of play. Will be to tone down any aggression. Well, tone up any aggression they might want to bring themselves when they start to go over to the defense. maybe with that, they also feel like Talon is not going to be able to be as big of a threat for that defense as Cloud9 wants to be themselves. Marowon is going to be quite, well, normal, usual. Nothing really out of the ordinary there. And Talon, again, with a quick ban, seem to have the game plan ready to remove that Valkyrie. Of course, most of the time it gets, well, goes in pair with that Nomad then.
Yeah, they're all kind of relatively standard there. I mean, Talon Esports, the things that they're going to have to be watching out for is the fact that Cloud9 have significantly been better than them at seeing things more three-dimensionally. You know, they've been able to, they like to go for split pushes, things like this. You'll always see Harper team up with the Heartbreacher, which is usually played by Nova, as we can see. They usually play a lot together, whereas Talon are quite guilty of playing a little bit more one-dimensionally, where they'll try and bottleneck the attackers, or they'll do their best to they'll try and do sort of a roam game, but then not necessarily get the timing quite right. So it's important that they do play this map to kind of the best way that it's been figured out. A lot of people say Cafe is one of those maps that has such a default strategy at this point that some people aren't actually even a huge fan of the map anymore. So I think it's important that Talon do stick to those kind of, don't stray too far off the beaten path, because they need to nail this.
And they do not really, the thing is, right, they start off on the defense, so you don't really want to be too experimental straight away. You need to get your rounds in, because otherwise you're going to have a really hard time, especially if you're up against Cloud9, which well, always has been that last hurdle. So, in some extent, you do need to experiment a bit and try and insta-pronounce Cloud9, but you also do not want to stray off the path that has well, been valuable for any other team so far too much. So, Talon, bringing in that castle, which is quite normal for this bottom floor right here, making sure that small bakery has been blocked out, primarily allowing you to play into the main bakery a bit safer as those angles are blocked off.
It's also important that they keep Xiao busy. Xiao, he's the newest member of the team Cloud9. He's been around since about February, and he came from the team Trippy, who actually were one of the sort of more lacking teams in Korea, but if there's something he can do, it's definitely frag, and he's been a real leading member of Cloud9 for that, and he's brought a lot of value to the team. And obviously you see him on the Zafira a lot of the time, and typically it's her responsibility to deal with those castle barricades. And Talon need to be sure that they're consistently following what it is he's doing, because if anyone's going to be able to kind of nip around and catch them off guard, it's definitely going to be him.
And with that, the first entry seems to be coming down, as Egg is going to get droned out. Will force him to, well, basically not pick up that proximity alarm, as that might be a bit too much. Will decide to hide himself on the white stairs with the availability to rotate down into the garage if he gets too much pressure. You still have that rotation right there into the freezer. Kind of do not want to surrender that yet to the likes of C9, as that will be putting you up with a big disadvantage if you just give them free entrance into the actual site like that. So it's going to be up to the smoke of BD to make sure that it's not going to be Xiao, as you said, to nip around and get these picks.
And if he ends up in that 1v1, that could be fairly dangerous. But straight away here, we're having the floor of train be opened up by Envy Taylor. You can hear in the distance some explosions going on. That suggests that Nova's getting his job done. And this is where the drone starts going. As you see, Sweet Black, he's starting to move on down, taking information from Xiao, but instead they've decided that they're going to be remaining up over here, trying to get some of those angles in through the floor, and hopefully get some key picks to open things up. And there you go. Sweet Black will be getting the opening kill of the day with Labyrinth falling down. Trade's going backwards and forwards, but it does leave Cloud9 with the advantage.
Definitely so, and it was actually quite smart rotate. Dropping through that hatch, you would completely well, negate the fact that the smoke is playing in a position where he does. Kills are now coming in, and it's only Tomorrow left now in the likes of Talon to make sure that this diffuser is going to get disabled. Some flashbangs thrown at him, but well, there we go. The angle from the garage is being watched by Shell. With that, Sophia LMG. Round number 1 is going to Cloud9 after a pretty quick adaptation, just dropping through the hatch, not having to deal with the smoke whatsoever.
It did seem relatively effortless, and this kind of goes back to what I was mentioning at the start, Hap, and that is that Talon they feel very uncomfortable on things like roaming. Now, obviously, Smoke isn't a typical roamer. I don't think anyone would say, but he was playing off-site. And what I mean by they feel uncomfortable with roaming is pretty much whenever they do try to play that more off-site in any kind of strategy, they never really know exactly how to make it work, which is why you see these situations where so many of them are left on the side or very close to it towards the end of a round, and they're kind of sat there trapped like sitting ducks. And Cloud9 consistently and historically have always been able to take advantage of them in those situations, and that's why when we got to that end point there, Cloud9 were very easily just able to get the required kills. They were able to make the plant, but they got the kills anyway, and so it didn't really matter. Moving back on up to, well, I say back on up, we haven't been there yet, but to what a lot of teams would consider the premier side, up to Bar, and looking out to see if Talon are going to be doing anything similar. They pretty much brought the exact same composition, the same lineup here. But the question is, are they going to be able to make it work with who's based on site, who's not based on site, and preventing Cloud9 from moving in quite as they were able to in the last round?
No, similar kind of castle barricades being used. Quite some utility right here in the piano. Might indicate that Talon is keen onto holding control of that, even though no one is going to be playing there. So they're at least going to be trying to force Cloud9 to use a lot of utility to make sure they're going to be able to safely maneuver through. An ADS there being used to make sure that if they want to take care of that Evil Eye, they'll have to use 2 flashbangs as well. And that might be an issue later on when you finally want to go for the actual side tape, because we saw as well, as soon as they got the plans down, they just started throwing flashbangs into the way of Tomorrow just to slow him down a bit more. That might be the plan behind it. Just make sure they waste as much utility as possible trying to clear out that one Meister camp. As Shal already putting in the first concussion right there. It seems that he got caught. Sees that second shield up there. Wants to take that down. BMW is playing right behind it. But no one is going to be there yet to respond. Someone should be rappelling up right now onto the white stairs window. You can easily take him out. There should be no question about that.
See, it's interesting here with the smoke canisters going out, but no one's actually coming down through Red Hatch. It's almost like Talon have a sort of false idea as to where these members of Cloud9 are. They're coming in through Piano. They're not coming in through the Red Hatch. It's just looking to
slowly
see.
Holding off. 90 seconds left on the clock right here. Cloud9 is slowly setting themselves up to go for a take, and it looks like they want to go from Piano, but Shield's still in position, BMW still right behind it, so as long as he's sitting in there, there's almost nothing they can do. As well as a smoke canister right now, making sure that Harper is not going to be able to do anything, followed up by a quick burst of the SMG. Making sure the opening frag will be going up to Talon, also taking out that Dokkaebi, no longer able to either hack camps or throw in that phone call. Just a little bit of utility going right there. Castle barricade is going to get open. BD's position is a bit compromised, but is it going to be hurting them too much?
Well, it is a good start from Talon so far, and Cloud9 with less than a minute remaining are going to have to start making a move. You can't play too patiently for too long, and this is where we begin to see Sweep like make the drop down, but it's not going to be good enough because Labyrinth is going to be able to catch him out. PMW going down in return, but regardless, Cloud9 are just left with 2 remaining members. They've just got to go for this rappel on the east side now if Nova is to even hope of making some kind of plant. 30 seconds remaining, and he is the only member of the team left. And you're going to start seeing the players of Talon flock over to the east side of the building because they know that that's exactly where he's going to be. Less than 20 seconds now, and Nova is pretty much doomed, and that allows Talon to take their first round. And here on the second round, we didn't have to wait too long to see that happen.
I definitely didn't have to wait too long to see that. We've had some games where it went one way for like 3, 4, or 5 rounds, and before finally someone managed to respond. But right now we're in a back and forth. Not sure if it's going to stay that way for Talon. I sure hope so, as the odds are heavily against them. It would be good to show that they're here to stay and here to be contesting into the APAC North Division. And also tell Cloud9 they're not getting it for free. They will really have to work for it.
It's nice to see that Tomorrow's, having a good start. See there, he's got 3 kills, 1 death, so he's actually holding up better than Xiao is. And, you know, when you look at the last round, it kind of makes sense. Xiao was playing very, very patiently. He was focusing more on bringing down those castle barricades and not rushing into the site. And that's definitely something to be commended. But given what I said about the issue that Talon has had with their roamers in the recent past, it's still something that's worth mentioning, the fact that that is something they're evidently finding value from. Now, they return down here to Kitchen, so evidently this is the site that they feel the most comfortable on or would like to do the best. This is what they see as their premier site. Obviously, it didn't work out all that well for them on the first round, but it suggests that they have some idea of what it is they want to do. They want to make their improvements rather than going to a third site instead. They've had their win now. They know how the pacing went in the time where they were able to win, and it's because they applied that, you know, that kind of pressure enough that prevented Cloud9 from making any kind of a rush in. If they can repeat that here on this site, well then Talon Esports, they may be on their way to find the key to jumping over that hurdle that has been a problem for so long.
Well, back into the Kitchen Bakery we go. Let's see if Cloud9 can repeat what they did last time, or whether or not Talon is going to be ready to respond properly right now. You don't want to let them get into the freezer again and just quickly take control by taking down your players one by one, so you really have to step it up. So holes being made right there by Nova, just to make sure Kitchen Prep can be challenged. Right now he will be proceeding, I believe, to open up this main wall into the kitchen. At least removing the reinforcement, allowing Envy Taylor later to come in with the sledgehammer and open it up. But you might want to do that right beforehand, because otherwise you're going to expose yourself. Unless, of course, you're going to be using an Asher Sophia charge to dispatch of the soft wall that is about to appear as soon as Nova finishes off this, well, quick renovation of this. But no one is there to challenge. That's something that's really questionable. It's being opened up, but no one seems to know about it from Talon's side.
Yeah, this is kind of strange thing, is Talon are allowing Cloud9 to push them over to the other side of the site. Now, we're seeing PMW upstairs here in train. He's trying to get a peek through into the site itself, potentially hoping that Cloud9 are going to see that it's empty, bait them in, they'll begin to rush through, and then the aim would be for them to rush in from the other side and also be able to get those picks in through the floor. Now, that's kind of risky, because if you can protect, you know, the diffuser in time, you can still get that diffuser down, and that forces the defenders into a post-plant situation. There's the ping. So Egg has been brought down by Cloud9 onto Talon, and this is not the start that they were looking for, because this gives Cloud9 even more power to actually be able to make this plant. Well, that's exactly what was going to happen, but Nova's not going to be able to do it as the smoke comes out. That's a great pick there from BD, and now you want to be seeing Talon Esports moving in, but that doesn't look like that's what's going to be ending up happening, as Envy Taylor was able to get another kill. Things Talon were hoping to go really well, so far looking so backwards and forwards. It's a 2 versus 2 now. The question is, are they going to be able to win it out? Just 1 player remaining, but Sweet Black is so low on HP, and it's not going to be enough. Talon Esports maybe didn't deserve to win that round, but they did it anyway.
Smoke canisters in really well positioned, well, really good positions there, making sure that first of all they took down, I believe that was Nova on the plant, and afterwards taking down Envy Taylor, who tried to go prone to try and stop that from happening, but in the end it didn't really happen. Pre-fire from the Meister afterwards, just playing off information right there, knowing that that is most likely going to be the position where he's at. You have 83 bullets anyway in that Alda. You can just come around the corner pre-firing, and you have a very big opportunity. You actually will be able to pick up the kill. And if not, you still have like 60 left, so there's really no loss at pre-firing a corner like that. And due to that, Talon will be picking up that round. Maybe a bit due to mismanagement on the likes of Cloud9. A bit in too far. Didn't have to do that. All they had to do was basically get that smoke and then just hold off. And instead they decided to go for some peeks, and that really came back to them and hurt them in the end. But again, it's defense side of map. Talon, they are expected, if they want to be in a competitive match right here, to get 4 rounds in. Whilst Cloud9 only needs about 2 to still be, well, very competitive in this one. And yes, I've said it before, and then it turned into a 10-round attack win and 2 for defense. But I'm convinced that the defense is actually very much over right now.
Well, Cloud9 this time they opted to bring the Hibana instead of the Maverick, which is what they've done on the last 3 rounds, as frag grenades aren't going to be available, but instead they will have the stuns. That also means that Harper has actually opted to take the diffuser, so evidently they're going to be going for something a little bit different. Maybe that will free up some of the responsibility that Nova would have otherwise had. But it's going to be interesting to see here, obviously, we're on this 3rd site, and how Talon are able to defend reading. One thing that they've looked a little bit poor, I kind of want to say, at is being able to sort of hold that more vertical defense. You see them playing on the horizontal plane a lot more than you see them being able to hold a really stringent and strong vertical defense. Where this is one of those sites where you're going to have the attackers come down in through that top floor. Now you can see Tomorrow is positioned here in the washroom. He's not able to get Sweet Black through the wall, and actually instead, MV Taylor through the window gets Tomorrow himself. And so that clears out that key roamer from that top floor and will make it so much easier for Cloud9 to actually start to move in through the map.
This is definitely allowing them a lot more space right here to move through. Cloud9 going to be able to challenge the other players a bit better now as they have the opportunity to trade. Concussions being tossed out as they know people are going to be on these stairs. BMW will have to be a bit patient with it peaking this as Labyrinth will be dropping down 3 people now on this white stairs. Strings being tossed in, but with no too little effect as all 3 members will be able to rotate out as Labyrinth almost gets taken out by Sweet Black, who just returns fire after being shot out as BD, holding a very passive angle here. The bookcase. Probably people will not expect someone to be in that position. Might be able to pick up a kill, but it's going to be MV Taylor to get his double. We'll be taking down Labby, who was about, well, 1 HP after that earlier engagement with the Asher Sweet Black. And, well, that is going to be putting Cloud9 into an even better position right now. The first set of Excaliburs got completely caught by the door frame right there. That's unlucky. We'll be removing 1 of the 3 charges that you have available to you. Door, however, is going to get opened up. Smoke canisters are being tossed in just to stall. As long as this vertical control is still here, they might be able to make something happen on that. I believe that's down to come through into Ag. Indeed, BD will respond to Shell. It's a 2-on-4 situation effectively right now as BMW wants to flank upstairs. He's going to be able to get 1. Yes, he does get 1. This is the diffuser dropped as well. It's going to be calling that out, trying to rotate, stay alive. Will be able to pick up a second one. How did MV Taylor not know that he could be coming up there potentially? And as Sweet Black right now will be recovering the diffuser. We're back in a 2-on-2 situation with 25 seconds left. Is this going to be able to get these planned down still, or is it going to be BMW? Yes, he will! He gets the triple kill and drips the diffuser yet again. It's all up to Nova now, but he needs to challenge both him and the other one. Gets the first one to start things off. It's about a 5 HP right now. If there's only 1 smoke canister left, he's going to be able to counter this one off without even having to peek. And he does have 1 left, but the plant is going to be coming down with a second to go right now. 45 counting down and 1v1 to go through. 1 smoke canister on the smoke, but he gets pre-fired, and it's going to be Nova to win that round for C9. But after that amazing performance from BMW, that should have been a Talon round.
And it absolutely should have, but Cloud9, their ability to adapt in the face of adversity. Obviously, Nova was expecting all his teammates to be there to support him and allow him to make that plant. But as things change because of PMW's rather wide flank, which is not something you very typically see on a Maestro, I'll be perfectly honest, turned out incredibly interesting. The responsibility then fell onto Nova's shoulders. But luckily, he was then left in a situation where he was able to walk straight into a site that was being left empty with players from Talon who had relatively low HP who had to then move into the site themselves. And that's the kind of risk that you run when you decide to do something that PMW did. Yes, he got 3 kills off of it. That's absolutely excellent, but it does then leave you in a point where you are then the one who is forced to walk into the, the incoming bullets of the defenders who make it onto the site. It's like the tables get turned and the roles get switched, and suddenly you're the one who has to aggress onto that, and it puts you in a very risky position. That's exactly what happened there for BD. So things evened out now. And it's strange that we've kind of seen these 2 rounds where you would expect one of the teams to win and it's been the other one who's able to do it. And this is what we kind of need to see a little bit of cleanup on, right? Yeah,
they were like, we weren't supposed to win this one, we'll give you this one.
We'll let you have this one.
We'll let you have this one.
this is kind of where you want to be looking for the improvements in, because when you sort of look at the teams that are at the top, the mistakes that allowed those to happen would not have happened, at least not typically. And so this is where, especially as they start to go against teams from, you know, other sub-regions that have all come together in APAC North, they will have to start making those tweaks and making those improvements if they are to hope to, you know, remain in a challenging position for one of the top spots.
And that's the beauty now with the fact that we get all divisions together into one big league, as they will be forced to, as where prior Cloud9 could maybe get away with these kind of mistakes in their local league. They're no longer going to be able to, as soon as they're going up against a Fnatic, a Giants, or a Cyclops, for example, and they will be forced to adapt. They will be forced to improve. And overall, the level of the league will improve gradually with that as well. And it's something like it's a simple method, right? The more regions you put into a league, or the more nationalities you allow into a league, the higher the competitive level will be. The APAC North Division really is hammering that one into it with many different regions, the many different nationals that they are adding into this Pro League, new Pro League format.
So far, nothing. We're about halfway through the round. It seems to be going kind of backwards and forwards in terms of, is this round's quiet, this round's busy. But it looks like Cloud9 are trying to sort of hurry their pacing up compared to what they did when they came to attack this site last time. We saw Shell acting a little bit more swiftly, and actually they've been able to take piano control now, which is something they struggled to be able to do last time they were here. That's forced PMW backwards. He was holding the pixel angle, of course, on the Wamai. That means Cloud9 should be feeling a little bit better about the fact that they have been able to do this, and should give them a little bit more of that prominence, that prowess that they require to actually be able to push on into the site. Tomorrow, making this wide flank down the bottom, going to be heading over to White Stairs, where we already see Egg. But he's going to be faced with the oncoming scope of Sweet Black, who is really just sitting there watching down the corridor, waiting for anyone to emerge.
Maestro Ken there being split out as Nova gets the first frag to start things off. BMW, the man of the great flank. The last round will be taken out. Noma Wamai, if he had any discs left in his pocket, they will no longer be. Zenvi Taylor, together with Nova right now, will be going for a little bit of a flank into the White Stairs, hoping to pinch this player from, well, both sides, really. As the call now is going to be coming in. He will be picked up straight away by Nova, who goes quite low, swaps to the bearing 9, gets the triple kill. Labby will be responding with that. Maestro, though, picks up a double kill himself before he finally drops. It's going to be only up to BD now in a 10-second round. He needs to stall this plan from happening, but it's not going to be happening in the end. It's Shah with the last one to come through. He had shot onto BD, and it's the round for Cloud9, and they retake the lead after they lost it in the second round.
Well, one thing that Cloud9 have been showing a lot more than Talon have so far, and I'm interested to see if you agree, is the consistency in their gunplay. I mean, there have been some pretty impressive show-ups from Talon. There was what happened with PMW in the previous round, and then here Labyrinth got a couple of good kills himself. But one thing that I've always noted about this team is the players who, they're a very Maestro-centric team. It's like if you're playing Maestro, you're probably gonna do okay. But beyond that, there's no one who really shines particularly on any other role or operator, whereas on Cloud9 you're seeing things like Nova. Well, he's playing hard support and he's still been able to get these really impressive multi-kills, and it's that kind of flexibility that we really need to be looking at, especially these days in Rainbow Six Siege. And I'm wondering if maybe that's where Talon are going to struggle. Now, they're not too far behind and not all hope is lost, and of course we haven't seen their attacking round, but it does look so far like Cloud9 are being able to show so much more of that flexibility. There, here we go, we're getting to see PMW just sneaking up. I mean, he had no right to get those kills. I'm telling you that, absolutely no right at all, but he was able to secure them. Cloud9 are going to be very, very much ready and waiting for something like that to happen again.
Well, it almost worked out, and if it did, it would have been the hero of the day. Instead of really Cloud9, I managed to get 3 attacking rounds in, which is a huge deal on Cafe. Yes, we might have seen a little bit more of an attack-sided day so far, especially on the first map on Team Park, which we would expect to be by nature a defense-sided map. But Cloud9, if they manage to pick up yet one more round, they're going to be putting themselves in a very good position to go over to that defense and try to secure this one with maybe the biggest round differential we've had so far in APAC North.
Could be an interesting one to see. I found it very interesting how yesterday when we were casting EU, we had a lot of 1 and 7, 2 and 7s,
Was
and
the
today,
most extreme from
yeah,
both.
today we've had, you know, actually some quite close games, and that's part of the interesting thing when you bring together a lot of these teams that haven't played together. But that's just not true for these two teams. They have played together a number of times, and it's been consistently Cloud9 that have been able to show up against Talon, despite the fact that Talon kind of have this Cinderella story of going from nothing to being, you know, the beautiful princess who has really taken APAC, or at the very least Korea, by surprise. Sweet Black just throwing in those flashes, going to be burning some ADS. Well, it's going to be MB Taylor who's burning PMW once again, straight through that same window into the washroom. It seems like Talon just aren't being very vigilant about that specific window.
Tomorrow, trying to come up on these red stairs again, but we spotted out Harper. Sweeps around the corner, gets that kill, and now we'll have the access to the phone as well. With that, the cams will be in their power. Like, they're going to be able to get the same information as the defenders get right now. Doubt that there's going to be any really up, as there is no Maestro. That's unlucky right there, being peeked by that super shorty right there from the castle. As Sweet Black goes prone, wasn't able to ADS due to that kill going into the way of, or into favor of Talon. You got to be in mind that, well, Egg did go quite low. Will be forced out right now due to the Maverick opening up, is aware of the fact that an angle can be created, and thus is going on a bit more of a passive angle where he's able to support BD and Labyrinth a bit better instead of being like, you know, a guaranteed trade.
We've seen the situation from BD before where he's kind of been caught in the corner with the tail between his legs, and there we go, he gets completely caught out. And that just leads straight to Cloud9's final victory here on their attacking round. And they just made it look relatively simple. I mean, they got a couple of plants throughout the course of that half, but it kind of got to the point where they didn't really need to worry about it all that much because they knew where they could catch Talon out. But as things start to change sides, I'm very interested to see how it is that Talon are going to be approaching their attack, because Cloud9, as I said before, they have a more dynamic way of seeing the game overall, whereas Talon they think in one direction and don't consider what could be coming from the other. And that's particularly dangerous when you're playing on defense, but it also means that when you're planning an attack, you don't necessarily consider the things that could be there on the defense for you. Now, interesting, they're opting to bring a Twitch, which was 6-picked off of a Monty. Now, it's very Korean to bring Monty, but very rare to see a Monty brought without something like a finger as well. But nonetheless, potentially Cloud9 are going to be expecting that. Maybe they thought that they would 6-pick off of it, but either way, they've thrown that in. And, you know, everyone knows S2, one of the best guns in the game, but you also have those shock drones available to you as well. And given that something that Cloud9 have been able to use against Talon really well is their superior intel that they've had. You know, they had the Joker B before and they were using her extraordinarily well. Then having those shock drones available and being able to potentially get rid of things like cameras and whatever it is that they have, like Evil Life, for example, then maybe that will help work out for Talon.
All right, as the round swap or site swap has taken place, it's now going to be the first action phase of Talon to try and show that they can clearly match Cloud9. And tomorrow starts the off well. Gets the counter spawn pick on MV Taylor. That's going to be the Wamai gun, and it's a very valuable pick, especially this early on. That means there's no more new magnets going to get deployed. Only 2 they will have to deal with now instead of the usual 5. And with that, they will save 3 pieces of utility, allow them to be quicker in clearing out the setup that Cloud9 has put up for them. Have something left for the Evil Eyes, have something left for your castle barricades. I'm still going to be able to maybe even toss a grenade into the right player, the right bunker that they have created. Twitch here doing some work as well, taking down some ADSs, making sure that even more utility will be put to good use. And totally understandable looking at the fact that Talon has 4 frag grenades available to them and only 3 of these flashes. So they really want to put these frag grenades into good use. These drones are definitely helping out with making sure that will be happening. As right now, the stunts and concussions are coming in that will indicate the start of the attack, as Sweet Black will be going down to about 10 HP as well. Smoke canisters are being tossed in to at least slow down the attack that Talon Esports wants to put up. Grenade being cooked. Might be able to land in Sweet Black's. No, he's not. He goes prone at the right moment. Down because of that. No shrapnel will be hitting him. And it will allow us to, well, stabilize for now. Is that a ledge?
Well, Sweet Black did take a significant amount of damage, which is actually what forced him back. So even though those smokes were there to prevent the drop down into the red hatch, we actually did see the Maverick drop down, but it's kind of going to prevent them from moving in, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Here is him opening up the wall from the red stairs. They're going to be able to move on through and take that piano control. Just letting Tomorrow go in first, ladies first, as they say, I think. Well, maybe a few decades ago.
Is that true in war as well? Like, you said women first?
This is a real war, though, is it? It's meant to be like a simulation. I don't know.
A simulation you do to practice for the real thing, don't you?
Sure. Well, either way, we've got the reinforcement coming up from Xiao, who's moving up towards this top half. And Tomorrow going down. There's that Ash. And actually, she sent in the drone first for herself, so she should have been very much aware of the fact that Harper was waiting there on white stairs, but it wasn't enough. Harper does get traded out, so at least that's a good sign there for Talon. Add that onto the kill onto Xiao, and actually things are starting to turn around here. Just Nova and Sweet Black are remaining on the side of Cloud9. They are able to get a kill for themselves, but Sweet Black has such low HP, and at this point it looks incredibly unlikely that he will be able to survive this out. Down goes the diffuser. Is it going to even finish getting there, or is Sweet Black going to be able to clutch things out? Talon Esports able to get it, but things look so close there. Finally, Sweet Black falls. That was a little bit too close for comfort there for Talon, but thankfully they were able to get it.
Definitely got the first one there, but then Egg was back in time to actually respond straight away, get that trade in, make sure it would have been, actually, another fair 1v1 to go in, and due to that, Talon managing to bring it up to 4-3. Not really refusing, well, they're refusing to lose as of yet. They want to bring it back to a 4-4, maybe even take the win right here from Cloud9. It's the last hurdle, and they're desperately to, or at least cross it once. This is a good opportunity for them to do so. As a reading room fireplace will be brought out by C9. They're swapping side as they lost the previous one. And the question is this the right choice, or is this playing right into Talon's back?
Well, this is the thing. It's going to be kind of interesting. I'm wondering if maybe they're banking on the fact that, you know, this is the sort of least practiced of all of the sites. And maybe they're expecting Talon to not really know entirely what to do. But that said, you know, Talon, they're a team who have... This roster has been together for a really long time. They've been working under the same coaches. They've had a lot of time to develop themselves without making a lot of changes. And potentially one of the things they will have been looking at as they head into the APAC League is ensuring that they are ready for things like this. Of course, they know that they're going to be going up against teams that they haven't played before. They also know they're going to be going up against teams like Cloud9 who have caused them issues in the past. This is their first time in Tier 1, like James said on the analyst desk earlier. So, while yes, there is the chance that they're maybe thinking, okay, this is the least picked site, this is the off site, maybe we can throw them off. Maybe Talon have also been planning for this as well. We'll have to wait and see. Evidently, things like the Twitch did work out for them before, and they were finally able to clutch out that last round, even though it did get a little bit too close for comfort. But there is also always the risk that Cloud9, you know, they're playing a risk themselves as well, because they won't have practiced this as much. You want to be looking out for Sweet Black and Xiao mostly, because you want to be looking for them to get a really successful flank onto these players who are starting to move into that site.
All right. That's being opened up right here. Instant drone coming right after to see if someone is going to be around the red area. No one being found yet, and right now you just see Talon trying to get the right information to see what they're dealing with. Nova going right after, making sure he's quite aggressive, but he's going to be tagged up just a little bit by one of these repels on the window. And it just survived though, so that's the important part right there. But BMW ready on that new balcony, able to repel in right now, supported by Tomorrow Agdan with a kill onto Envy Taylor. Looking like Talon is looking well to dictate the pace for this round and maybe the next to come as well. Right now they have been doing the majority of damage to Cloud9, and Cloud9 is only trying to follow right now, but Labyrinth will be getting the kill onto Sweet Black right there as well. Will be finishing him off as it was just a DBNO. Tries to go for the next gunfight. Will be doing quite a lot of damage right there as he is going to get flanked in the meantime. So he will be taken down by Harper, who moves in from the engine room, manages to actually get in right there. BD wants to respawn, but he's way too late with that sledgehammer. It's going to be up to Tomorrow now to find this one player that just dropped through the hatch. The sound cue should have been there and allows him to maybe drop right after, but he's not daring to take that bat as of yet, because they need some more information. They right now do have the top floor control. That's all they can wish for. Now they need to start working their way down slowly. They know they have the man advantage. They do not need to overdo it here. As C4s are getting popped, no damage is being dealt. Nova should be feeling that one for sure. As it's only him and Harper, the two SCS operators on site, holding and waiting for the final execute to come down. It's just counting down. In the meantime, a plant's already happening and no one seems to have noticed right there. Harper will be able to not cancel. Oh, actually just cancel out the diffuser. And that's a major thing for Cloud9 right here, but he's not going to be able to get the kill onto Tomorrow. Right now, the last two members are going to be located in that actual place where the plant's going to be going down into the reading room. Is Shao going to be able to get these two players, or is he not going to be able to cancel this plant? The 45 seconds are on the clock right now. This will allow Tomorrow and PMW to get into the right position to make sure that this after plant is being played well.
You can tell that Shell, he's going to hope to try and get some kind of shot from above as Talon begin to look around and look for him. We've got one player outside, and the chances of him coming back in when he doesn't need to, he could actually end up getting shot here if he's got in the line of sight, but actually no, Xiao's going to be one to bring down PMW. Here's Tomorrow backing out. But he's going to have to come in, run in, and stop this disable. You can tell that Xiao knows he's out there, and that's exactly what happens. I have to say, it was a really kind of strange round, if I'm completely honest. The fact that we ended up seeing Labyrinth go into the site particularly early, and then he got gunned down, and that meant a lot of that pressure that was coming in from the other side and that sort of pincer attack that they were going for was very mistimed. It looked throughout a lot of that round like Talon were running on little to no intel, and they were just trying to run in and get what they could while they could, and that's why we ended up seeing Harper get a bunch of kills, when really Talon could have prevented that from happening if they'd have managed things like drones and managed things like their intel a lot better. So even though, yes, they were able to get the round, it was a kind of strange one where it felt like it was almost a luck on timing more than it was on coordination.
Many bombs as they can.
All right, indeed, as you say, they managed to get that one in. Maybe due to that lack of time on the side of the likes of Cloud9. But the thing is, right, it could have all ended way differently. As soon as the M59 buckshot went into, I believe that was Tomorrow, it didn't get that kill. He was already dead, like a dead man walking right there, Harper. If he actually managed to get the down onto the ash, it would have been a completely different round. It would have been a 2-on-1 situation instead for the likes of Cloud9. That Planta would not have gone down to start off with, and it would have been the round most likely for Cloud9. So, just that one shot of the shotgun could have changed the entire outcome of that round. Could have made sure that Cloud9 would have been 5-3 ahead right now instead of 4-4 tied up to Talon, who are looking quite strong, I must say, even though they look a bit uncoordinated from time to time.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is, you know, the coordination in Korea's never been a region that's known for its absolutely explicit coordination. It's always been a bit sloppy, it's always been a bit messy, and that's really what's going to show up when they start to go against a lot of these other teams. But the fact that Talon really aren't letting up, and they're still taking those rounds that matter. You know, as we spoke about, Cloud9 have been quite consistent in being able to beat this team in the past. This was the last map that these two teams played against one another, and Talon had a Cloud9 had a decisive victory. So the fact this is even happening, there we go. Tomorrow, bringing down Xiao at the very start. Xiao was playing very far forward there here in the bakery, and he actually missed out on seeing Tomorrow when he was busy shooting the drone. And that was a complete misstep from him. And it's things like that that mean that Talon are actually being able to stand up on the same stage as Cloud9 and say, look, you've beaten us in the past, you've been our hurdle, you've been our problem, but actually we're going to come and cause you a problem now.
What's even more extreme than that, because normally it takes a lot more utility to actually take control of the bakery right there. Shields are there, you can expect it to be ADSs if there's a Jaeger playing there, but instead all they needed to do is just move in tomorrow, let him get that kill, let him get for the gunfight, and because of that they actually managed to win that well, control over there. But normally it's supposed to take 1 hour of, like, not 1 hour, 1 minute or 1 minute 30. And also a lot of utility, but all they needed to do is just pump a couple of bullets in that direction, and they actually managed to get the kill. They really easily got control of Bakery right here, which might come back to Cloud9 due to the fact that there's just so much more utility left right now. As Tomorrow gets his double kill through the Maverick hole, we'll be able to pick up Sweet Black right there. There's going to be the smoke gone. There's also a lot of delaying ability gone on the likes of Cloud9 for these last 50 seconds. They're about to come in as another shot comes through. Not really sure what Harper was doing right there. You clearly saw the hit, but Tomorrow managed to actually win that gunfight. It's going to be Envy Taylor right now that needs to go for the flank, but it's already too late. His teammate has fallen. Nova has dropped. It's going to be only up to him right now on this vigil, but it seems like they're aware of his position. Managed to get the first kill onto BMW, but not the second. It's Tomorrow with a quad. If not, was it an ace? It could have been an ace, actually. I'm not sure. I need confirmation on that.
Well, either way, I actually kind of preferred the way that Talon went about that. You know, they were all kind of playing together a little bit closer, but the fact that they used the 2 Maverick nades quite early on, and at that point, Cloud9, they'd all sort of moved out the way more to the east of the map because they knew that something like that was going to come in. But then that's when we saw Sweet Black move back forward because he knew those grenades had been spent. They were no longer there. He tried to get the angle through the Maverick hole without realizing that Tomorrow was lying prone in Bakery, ready to gun him down. So straight away, the smoke was brought down, and that was suddenly that denial that was taken off the board that no longer did Talon need to worry about. Then as they began to move in and bring some of the other members down, you ended up with Envy Taylor on the vigil, left on a different part of the map, and suddenly he had players on either side of him, able to get 1 kill, wasn't able to secure the other. And it was just a very good example of Talon actually thinking a little bit further ahead than themselves than they have been doing in the past. And now they've got the lead. I mean, this is something that is quite significant in the story of these 2 teams, in the story of Korean esports, and hopefully in the story of APAC.
Definitely so indeed. Talon, basically the new kid on the block, even though they're not that new anymore, but they never really were in the Korean Pro League, are going to be able to give Cloud9 a run for their money now, as they will be up 1 round right now, just 1 more away to have a little bit more safety, really. There's no draws, of course. That will force them to, well, at least have their overtime secured, but also be putting a lot of pressure on the Cloud9 if they manage to win this round, because Cloud9 will know they cannot make a single mistake anymore. But I believe there's like 3 or 4 rounds in a row right now that have been won. No, 3 rounds in a row that have been won by Talon. So they're really in a roll right here, and Cloud9 not able to stop them as of yet, even though they got close, especially in the second round on their defense.
This is kind of the scary thing, because the previous 3 rounds were won by Cloud9, but those were the last 3 rounds of Cloud9's attacking half, which means that Talon winning 3 rounds in a row on the defense, but it being the first 3 rounds on the defense, suggests that there is a decent likelihood that they could continue to be on this tear and have a really, really good attacking half for themselves. Cloud9 so far have not really shown all that much to suggest that they're putting up a particularly strong defense against Talon Esports. And now as they start to come into bar for the second time, well, Cloud9, they've got to be very, very aware of that. They've been kind of poor at losing a couple of players earlier on when they really haven't needed to. Particularly, we've seen things like the Wamai go down quite early, which hasn't been able to prevent things like the frag grenades that Talon Esports have been using pretty well. So we want to be looking for Envy Taylor to not lose his life early, know when to back off. He has been playing this pixel angle, and you can actually tell that this is what the shock drone is trying to get at, looking for...
Doesn't see the pest.
And there we go, there's the pest. And like of course, Envy Taylor has moved back as a result.
Yeah, I like how he got like scared of the fact that he was being shocked by the drone right there. He's actually going to pick up 1 kill, but instantly taken out. I was going to say the drone only does like 1 damage, so
yeah,
like, you can just sit there, right? It really doesn't do anything. Yes, it will like give you a little bit of a shock in your screen, but you're still going to be able to respond due to that. Shal right now is going to be aware of the fact there's going to be 2 people right here. Picks up the first one to start things off with that. Cloud9 now has the man advantage, but instantly gets traded out by Tomorrow, just using that hatch. He's going to take quite a lot of damage from that one smoke canister to be popped, but he still managed to at least make sure that they have the equal man count, as a reverse plant seems to be coming down soon. It's going to be hard to counter. C4 will be totally missing that. And BD looking to make a move, but he needs to get his cover from that white hallway.
He's just waiting. Sweet Black knows that there could be an opportunity to run out and catch one of them, but he doesn't want to be too preemptive, and able to get actually the last kill of the round as BD does take the opportunity to peek around the washroom door, and Cloud9 finally break the streak that Talon have been having on this half. One player that I actually wanted to talk about was Tomorrow. You were speaking about him when he was able to get that kill through the floor onto Xiao. Tomorrow is currently sat at, I think, 13-6 was what it had on the scoreboard, which is pretty impressive, especially given he seemed to have a little bit of a shaky start. But it looks almost like, there you go, 13-7. So it looks almost like he, he's kind of warming up a little bit and is actually showing up a bit more for Talon. And that's really nice to see, especially given that earlier on, we saw a lot of that firepower coming from PMW and Labyrinth when they were playing those more anchor roles. And that's something that Talon have really, really needed, especially when you do have to go up against players like Envy Taylor and Xiao.
Bombs from being defused by attackers.
All right, indeed. Showing a huge right here in the likes of Tomorrow, just basically helping Talon get these openings, create them, and allow the rest to capitalize on that. Make sure to get some plants down, stuff like that. So 5-5 current scoreline. It's an anyone's ball game still. There's 2 more rounds in regular time to go. There's of course the opportunity to go to overtime. We've already had one today. So
Might as well keep up the tradition.
It's a proper tradition indeed. Yesterday we had a 7-1, 7-2, 7-1, and 2 6-6s, and today we seem to be at least hitting the 12. At least every single match so far. Let's see if for the next 3 that will also be the case. But first we will have to decide whether or not we're going to get a victory in the regular time, or if we're going to overtime to find out whether or not it's going to be Cloud9 or Talon Esports. And Shal yet again playing in that bakery. Has to be careful in the current position, because it could just simply be, it can be wall banged. Okay, I thought he'd, like, maybe if someone jumps in, get wall bang in, but it's actually reinforced this time. They have to be careful though to not be too aggro on this shield, because that would just allow Tomorrow to do what he did before and actually get the kills again and open up that complete bakery side.
Yeah, that is what happened before. I'm wondering if, you have the risk of, well, I was going to say PMW coming on through, but actually it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Labyrinth able to open up that barricade that was sitting there, throwing in the lifelines, but actually it's not been too much of a threat to the players of Cloud9 who are sitting in there, both Envy Taylor and Xiao, sitting nice and safe behind the shields. And of course, that's exactly why you play them, and having that really forward pressure, provided they can hold onto it, is actually going to hold Talon Esports out of here. If they're not able to make it in through the bakery, they may have to change their minds as to how they're going to go about attacking this site, because they're already halfway through the round.
Yeah, definitely. There's 90 more seconds left to go. Envy Taylor trying to get some aggressive shots in there. Heard a little bit of an explosion going off. Might have been on this doorway here to create an extra opening, as it seems like the take for, well, the eastern side of the building has started. No one really dared to counter that off, but Nova upstairs will be collecting PMW as he just runs straight into the crossfire. Right now, the rest of Talon knows, though, that this bottom floor area where they want to be continuing from is going to be clear, but it's going to be Envy Taylor to take down Tomorrow. Tries to go for a refrag here on the likes of Labby, but he's not going to be able to find anybody as of yet. We'll have to proceed slowly and steadily, whilst Egg is making sure that, well, his surroundings are going to be clear, but it's not going to be clear. It's Nova that actually picks him up. It's a double kill from him, and it's looking very well for the likes of Cloud9. They're only up against BD and Labyrinth right now. They want to be able to get this round in, but it's going to be Labby to pick up the first one into Envy Taylor. Gets tagged a little bit from the left. It's unaware of the fact where the actual angle is going to be coming from. Leaves it all up to BD on Talon's side to make sure that they will stay in the lead. Gets 1 kill to start things off. Needs to find 3 more. Or get that plan down without being contested whatsoever, but I doubt that's going to be happening. So the kills it must be. As the default cam is going to be taken down, trying to bait out some of the utility right there. BD being tagged up, left, right, and center. 17 seconds on the clock, but it's going to be Harper at that same timing to just quickly put a buckshot into him. End that round and put Cloud9 into 1 map point.
And once again, you could tell that Talon were really struggling for intel. Obviously, they had to try and adapt, change how they were going to approach their attack because of how Cloud9 had set up their defense, and Cloud9 knew that that was going to happen. So they were able to have people spread out a little bit more, catch them out, especially those players like Harper and like Xiao. But the thing is when you kind of got to that endpoint, you know, even Labyrinth, he kind of knew what angles he was meant to be holding until he got caught out. But ultimately, there was not really all that much to go on. As BD started to push into the side at the very end, yes, the odds were working against him. He was in a 1 versus 3. He had that camera behind him. He was looking to see what intel was in there with him, but he didn't actually know where any of these players were. And it just suggests a massive limit to what it was that Talon had available to them at the very end. They keep getting into these kind of positions where, you know, there's the skill on the team that they could clutch them out. It's obviously not in their favor, but they could do it. But they just don't have information to support that from happening.
Well, there's one thing I know for sure, and that's that the view prognostic that's at 92% sure that Cloud9 is going to be winning. Well, I mean, it might be winning it, but it's definitely not going to be as convincing as that 92% might have suggested to people. As Talon is putting up a pretty good fight, showing that they're here and they deserve to be here, and are hoping to be competitive for the latter stages of this league. Or maybe even pull in a win right here and share that top spot together with Cyclops and Giants. And maybe meet one of those teams in the next round.
Maybe so. I mean, of course, it is a Swiss system that works here in the APAC League. So that means whatever you score in this round, you'll be matched with someone who has the same score in the next round. And so kind of naturally, you end up with everyone being filtered through the top to the bottom. The best teams always end up at the top, and the worst teams always end up at the bottom. And so these early play days are going to be the ones to start deciding where those teams should be sitting. Not going to be able to get the full kill onto Xiao is Egg, but he can just jump over the railings and finish that one off. That's a good start here for Talon Esports, especially as it means that key flank, that key roamer is no longer going to be available there for Cloud9. And they can continue moving on through, just sending in a lot of their drones right now. And I mentioned before how they've really been lacking in intel. So they want to be ensuring that those drone placements particularly are useful and not likely to be, you know, shot very early on by Cloud9, because that's evidently what's been happening right now. And having things like the Mozzie and the Mute on that defensive side is going to make it very hard. Envy Taylor's kill onto Tomorrow is also going to make things very hard. And actually, does Labyrinth even know he's there?
No.
Did he even see him? I don't think he did. If Envy
He just
Taylor
realized
can...
now.
It looks like he's realized now because he will have heard his gunshots. But wow, that would have been the perfect opportunity. He's just holding on here, because of course it would have popped up on his map as well. Envy Taylor's just waiting to see if he can have the opportunity to do this run now, and he's going to commit to this, is what it looks like, and that's why you see Labyrinth actually. He's crouching down, he's going to use Oh no, he's moving away. He's moving away. They've given up on it, but wow, that was close. Things should never get that close.
You just literally ran
like,
right past them. Just a quick look to the... That's why you check left and right before you cross the street, kids. Because you never know whether or not it's going to be a car that's coming for you. Oh, is he going to go for it? Oh no, he's just making a noise. But he's already long gone.
He just wants to give them nightmares. Oh man.
He's hunting for him. He's hunting for him. He's not getting him as of yet. But in the meantime, it's going to be 35 seconds left to the clock. Harper wants to toss through that C4. Unfortunately, there's no one going to be there. Envy Taylor is going to be starting things up yet again with BD. We'll be re-picking things up. He's going to be able to get a second one as well. And the turn is a triple kill. And the last one will be dropping down on him. It's going to be Ag that will at least tries to fight back with 15 seconds left. He needs to get this plan down, or needs to get the 3 kills. And he's not on the side as of yet. It's Cloud9 that will win it. It's going to be Harper to finish it off. And after we saw such kind of a love story unfold between Labby and our beautiful Wamai, it is going to be Cloud9 that will be walking away with the win right here. 7-5. It was a hard-fought victory. Talon, unfortunately, not able to bring it home.
Talon, who had been forged in fire, looked like they were going to be able to pull out their sword and smite the Dragon of Cloud9, but it wasn't quite to be, and they ended up with that very, very slight loss. But my god, it was so close, and it really looked like Talon had been able to go through everything that they had been through with Cloud9 in the past and be able to come back and say, no, we can still beat you. But Cloud9, they decided that's not how it's going to be. And it was a constant story of adaptation and changes and little mistakes and things that are all going to have to be improved upon and continued on through. But Cloud9, they managed to keep their title as the consistent hurdle that Talon Esports just cannot jump.
Yeah, it was the last hurdle that Talon wanted to jump, and yet they stumbled again. But there's plenty of, stuff to talk about right here, plenty of action to analyze. So let's just quickly throw it over to Gassan and our analysts.